Let's talk about how to pass the first round interview for Tesco. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here to help you get hired. We break down the interview and recruitment processes for world famous companies to help you pass their interview. And today we're going to be talking about the consumer giant Tesco and how you can pass their first round interview. If you want more help to pass your Tesco first round interview, make sure you check out our Pass the Interview pack down in the description below. This Pass the Interview video is split into 3 parts. We're going to talk about what you can expect from the whole of the Tesco recruitment process, the most common questions that you will get asked in your Tesco interview, and other questions that came up in our research that you could get asked. All our research comes from publicly available sources from candidates who have already been through the process this year and our findings based upon that. So let's start off by talking about their recruitment process, which you can find in your research note in your Tesco Pass the Interview pack. Candidates reported the process lasting about 1 month. They submitted an online application and then there were 4 different sections for an online game-based test around 20 minutes each, and each question is time limited. You're then invited to take part in a telephone interview, which is based on star-based questions and previous experience. There was then an assessment centre which was friendly but relaxed and also quite competitive. There was a group exercise and an interview blended with a case study. Let's talk about the 4 most common questions that we came across in our research into the Tesco interview process. Question number 1, why do you want to work for Tesco? So for an in-depth explanation of how to answer this question and a free worksheet you can fill out yourself, click the card up above. So when you're talking about why you want to work for a company, you want to think that you just need to put in 15 minutes to do your research about the company. And if you don't want to put those 15 minutes in, just buy one of our Pass the Interview packs. And you want to pick out 5 fast facts. That's what we tend to do when we provide research for our clients. So these facts should be specific and not generic. And I'll give you an example, one of the facts in our research note. Jack Cohen began selling surplus groceries from a stall in the East End of London in 1919. He left the Royal Flying Corps at the end of the Great War and used his demob money to buy the first day's stock. From day one, Jack believed in putting affordable food in the reach of everybody. At the end of the first day, Jack Cohen made a profit of £1 on sales of £4. And that's how Tesco started. Pretty cool, huh? So when you're picking out these facts, it's good if you can pick out 1 or 2 of those facts that you can relate to personally. Very often when people are asked, why do you want to work for this company? They just end up talking about themselves. Now that's not really what we want to do, but you can inject some personality and say, this is something that really appeals to me because I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I can remember being in secondary school and the kids complained about being charged too much for cookies at break time. They would charge £1 for a cookie. So what I would do is that every Saturday when me and my mum went to Sainsbury's, I bought 4 chocolate cookies for £1 and then sold them for 50p each, which worked really well until somebody rumbled me and said that they were cookies from Sainsbury's. Screw that guy. Question number 2, tell us about a time that you worked in a team. So this is a competency-based question. They're looking for you to basically show that you have a skill. Whenever you're asked a competency-based question, always think to yourself, first of all, what is the skill that these people are looking for me to evidence? And here it's quite clear that they're looking for you to evidence teamwork. When we're answering competency questions, we use STAR, which is situation, task, action, result. Where were you? Situation. What were you doing? Task. Action. What did you do to fulfill that task? And result. What is the result that you achieved from doing that task? Now, talking about working as part of a team, it's important to think about, well, what are the elements that make somebody a good team member? And if you struggle to think about this yourself, number 1, Google is your friend. Just type in good teamwork skills. And also, number 2, just think about any time that you've had a bad team member and just the opposite of that. So generally bad team members, they are uncommunicative, they don't do the work, they're difficult to work with, they will only do a certain set number of things, and they tend to not show up or do what they were meant to be doing in the time that they were meant to be doing that. So we could just use the opposite. So what's a good team member? They do more than is required. They're easy to work with. They're easy to get on with. They're highly communicative. They show up and they do the work on time or before that work is due to be handed in. Question number 3, when have you achieved the goal and how did you do it? Now, a piece of advice that I'd give you about this is try to pick something that you are really proud of. So for example, one of the goals that I had many years ago when I first started doing a martial art was that I knew that on my journey to becoming a black belt, I wanted to become an instructor. I've always been passionate about teaching and helping people. I'm not sure if you can guess from doing these videos, and I just really liked the idea of being a teacher, not for money, but because I knew it would make me a better martial artist and it would allow me to help other people. Now that was quite a long goal. It's actually something that I've spent sort of 4 years slowly working my way towards. But in doing that, in setting that goal, it really set out the boundaries for the things that I needed to do. So I had to come to regular weekly practice. I paid attention to the way that the teachers teach. I made sure to practice in my own time. I kept my fitness levels up. There were a load of things that I did that kind of allowed me to slowly keep moving towards that goal. So when the opportunity presented itself, because in my federation you can't just take the exam, you have to be chosen to take the exam, I was ready and I put the hard work in then. I made sure that I practiced for my exam and I passed that exam, and I was really pleased about that. So when you're talking about how did you do it, a lot of time it's about, right, so this is my goal. What are the subset of things or the tasks that I need to do to achieve this goal? How am I going to allocate my time to doing this goal? And how am I going to organize my time on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make sure that those things get done? Question number 4, tell me about yourself. For an in-depth explanation on how to answer this question and a free worksheet, click the card up above. Learning how to do a personal introduction is a really great starting place for becoming good at interviews. Being able to introduce yourself is the first step to selling yourself. And really, what is the recruitment process if nothing more than just learning to sell yourself, your skills, and to effectively communicate what it is exactly that you are good at? A good personal introduction for me can really be broken down into 5 parts. What are you doing right now? What have you done in the past 3 to 5 years? Or what was your last degree? What was your last job? What was your last kind of significant chunk of time that you spent somewhere? Do you have any work experience? What did you do? Have you done any extracurricular activities? Any volunteering? What did you do there? And finally, your skills and interests. Have you got IT skills? Language skills? What are your hobbies? What are the things that you like to do? And as a bonus to answering this question, and this is really useful if you do a live video interview, a face-to-face interview, or a telephone interview, why not just end with an interesting fact about yourself? One thing that stands out to me is I remember one of the first clients that joined us on our program at Job Ready English was a young Chinese girl, and she ended her personal introduction by saying, I've also had my poetry published in several different books. And I just found that fascinating. And it led to us having a 15-minute conversation about poetry and how she got into it, what she enjoyed about it. Remember, if you're having a live interview, the sooner that you end up engaged in conversation, the better that the interview is going, because that person basically thinks, this person seems all right. Let's have a conversation with them. Let's get to know them a little bit better. So here are 4 other questions that we came across that we really loved and we thought were worth highlighting for you. Question number 1, tell me about one of your achievements. Now for me, this should be something that personally resonates with you, something that you feel proud of. Try not to think of an artificial answer. Sometimes I hear answers to this question which like, well, one of my greatest achievements was when I produced a report at work. Now that could be true. It could be that you did something which was really hard and you were really proud of achieving that. Most of the time, to be honest with you, it's not. So for a lot of international students, they talk about leaving their friends and their family and traveling thousands of miles to the UK. It could be something that you produced, that you created. It could be a goal that you've worked to for a long, long time. It could be an amount of weight that you lost. It could be overcoming anxiety and depression. closer and more personal that your answer is to you, the more that you are going to feel excited about sharing that with somebody else. And the best way that you can really think about this question is, imagine you're sitting next to somebody at a party that you think, I'm never going to get the chance to meet this person again. I really want to make a good impression and I want to impress them. I want to tell a story which really lets them know what I'm all about. And this is a good way to think about answering this question. Question number 2, how did you deal with a difficult situation? Now this could be a problem, a missed deadline, a mistake, a difficult person, whatever it is, make sure that you clearly define why something is difficult. And often something is difficult because either it appears to be a very big task, a big challenge. For example, I know for a lot of graduates, the first time that they're told about how much they have to write for their dissertation, they're like, oh my goodness, I have to write 10,000 words, 15,000 words. How am I going to do that? Or dealing with a difficult customer, or just resolving an argument within a group. These are a difficult situation because it's a big problem and it's an unknown. A lot of time the difficulty, the anxiety, the stress just comes from this, or not really knowing what to do, or the unknown of how to break this task down. So it should be something that is significant. And then what would we do? Well, we kind of break this task down. Maybe we learn how to do something, we sought out help from somebody. Maybe we researched online about the best way to do this thing, and then we systematically lay out the steps that we have used to fix this problem or overcome this difficult situation. And that's a very common mistake that I see people make when they're answering this question. They don't break down the steps. Imagine that you're teaching somebody how to cook your favorite meal. You're teaching them a recipe. So you would tell them about the ingredients, you would tell them about the quantity of ingredients, and then you'd give them the steps of the recipe, the things that they need to go through in order to do that. And sometimes people struggle with that because they're not really used to having to explain themselves. But this is super useful when you're teaching somebody how to do something. Question number 3, why would I be suited to this role? So this is very similar to why this role. If you want an in-depth explanation of how to answer this question, as well as a free worksheet, make sure you click the card up above. So grab the job description for the job that you're applying to, and you'll notice that it'll be split up into 3 parts. Part number 1 is selling the company, which a lot of companies do. Part number 2 is what you do day to day. And part number 3 is what skills that you would be expected to have. When answering this question, it's actually really simple. All you need to explain is, this is what I would need to do in this job, and these are the skills that I need to have. And you can give 3 or 4 skills and just provide the proof by sharing the experience of what you've done to demonstrate that you have that skill. Question number 4, what have you done in previous work that proves that you can make decisions under pressure? Now I hear you ask, if you don't have work experience, don't worry about it. What about your extracurriculars? What about your volunteering activities? Just somewhere under pressure generally means there's a set amount of time or a set budget. There is a constraint, which means that this is not an open-ended task that you need to do. So when you're thinking about how to answer this question, first of all, if you don't have any of those elements of experience, a word of advice, it's probably good for you to go out and seek difficult things to do, seek engagement with other people, seek being a part of something which is greater than just yourself. But it could be a difficult decision that you've had to make for yourself. It could be, how you balanced your work, your studies, and your personal life. It could be choosing to choose a particular subject that you wanted to study, having a decision under pressure, which is basically meeting a deadline. So clearly define, where does the pressure come from? What's your criteria for making a decision? And what did you do to make sure that that decision was successful, at least right for you at the time? Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video about how to pass Tesco's first round interview. Please like this video, drop us a comment down below, let us know how we did, was this helpful, how was your interview, how could we make this better? Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I wish you the best of luck and I hope that you get that job. See you later.